My people, una good afternoon, una good morning, una good night, depending on your time zone. This is Biafra Must Win channel. No forget say on this channel we dey bring am back to back on wetin dey shele for Biafra land and beyond. This as you listen to this very news, very important. We are winning o, Biafrans, we are winning. As you listen, abeg no forget to subscribe, no forget to share, no forget to like. God bless you.
There is heavy tension on Nigerian government as ICC issue last warning to Bola Tinubu on Simon Ekpa's arrest. According to reports from Nigeria media outlets, Simon Ekpa, a controversial figure and leader of the Biafra movement, has been detained in a high-security Finnish prison and his assets seized. This claim was, however, disputed by his supporters, who argue that it is misinformation propagated by Nigerian authorities. The issue allegedly involves international courts, ICC, and accusations of terrorism, and the ICC has called on the Nigerian government to come and defend their charges of terrorism against Simon Ekpa. This news update also highlights ongoing violence and loss of lives in southeastern Nigeria, referencing the need for reinforcements and strategic actions. In another news update, a man allegedly entered a hospital, removed an oxygen mask from a patient, and prayed, claiming faith in Jesus would heal the individual. Unfortunately, the patient reportedly died, raising concerns about security and accountability in healthcare settings. However, critics have criticized religious extremism and emphasizes the importance of modern medical care over blind faith. Meanwhile, critics have reflects on the social and political challenges in Nigeria and urges listeners to adopt practical solutions rather than relying solely on faith. Let's take a journey into what has become a major talking point in Nigeria and beyond. The country is on edge and tensions are running high. The International Criminal Court, ICC, a global institution that deals with issues like war crimes and terrorism, has issued a stern warning to Nigeria's president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The issue? Simon Ekpa, a figure who is both admired and criticized for his leadership in the Biafra movement. This story has layers. It's about politics, justice, international relations, and the everyday lives of people in Nigeria, particularly in the southeast. It's a tale of a divided nation grappling with the consequences of its decisions and the actions of its leaders. So sit tight as we unravel the details. To understand the current situation, we need to start with Simon Ekpa. Born and raised in Nigeria but now based in Finland, Simon Ekpa is a lawyer, politician and self-proclaimed freedom fighter. He's also one of the leading voices in the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB movement, a group advocating for the independence of southeastern Nigeria. This region, historically known as Biafra, has a long and painful history tied to a civil war that lasted from 1967 to 1970. Simon Ekpa rose to prominence as a successor to Nnamdi Kanu, the detained leader of IPOB. While some see Simon Ekpa as a champion for justice and self-determination, others view him as a destabilizing force. His fiery rhetoric and controversial strategies have made him a polarizing figure. Recently, the International Criminal Court got involved in what has become a complex and heated situation. Reports emerged claiming Simon Ekpa had been arrested in Finland and placed in a high-security prison. It was said that his assets were also seized. This news spread like wildfire, fueling debates and speculation. But then came the twist. Supporters of Simon Ekpa, including members of the Biafra movement, said the reports were false. They accused the Nigerian government of spreading fake news to weaken their cause. They argued that Simon Ekpa was not in prison and that the claims about his assets being seized were nothing more than propaganda. Amid this confusion, the ICC reportedly summoned Nigeria's president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaya, to defend the charges of terrorism against Simon Ekpa. The court demanded evidence, calling on the Nigerian government to justify its actions. The news has put Nigeria in the spotlight, and not in a good way. People are questioning the government's handling of the situation. Is Simon Ekpa a terrorist, as the government claims, or is he a scapegoat in a larger political game? The ICC's involvement has added an international dimension to what was already a deeply divisive issue. The situation is particularly tense in southeastern Nigeria, where the Biafra movement has strong support. Over the years, the region has seen violence, protests and clashes between IPOB members and security forces. The human cost has been enormous: lives lost, families torn apart, and communities left in ruins. A recent video circulating on social media showed the aftermath of one such clash. The images were heartbreaking: young men lying lifeless, their dreams cut short. It's hard to watch something like that and not feel a deep sense of sadness and anger. People are asking, how did we get here? And more importantly, how do we move forward? While the political drama unfolds, another story has captured attention, and it's just as troubling. Imagine this: a man walks into a hospital. In one of the wards, a patient is struggling to breathe, relying on an oxygen mask to stay alive. The man, driven by his faith, removes the oxygen mask. He believes that prayer alone will heal the patient. The man starts praying, declaring that Jesus will perform a miracle. But tragically, the patient dies. The man wasn't a doctor, nor was he authorized to make such a decision. He was just someone who believed he was acting in the name of God. This incident has sparked outrage and a heated debate. People are questioning how someone could walk into a hospital and interfere with a patient's treatment. Where were the security measures? How could the hospital allow this to happen? At the same time, the incident has reignited conversations about the role of faith in our lives. While religion is deeply ingrained in Nigerian culture, this tragedy has shown the dangers of taking faith to an extreme. It's a reminder that faith and reason must go hand in hand. These two stories, Simon Ekpa and the ICC on one hand, and the hospital tragedy on the other, are different in many ways. But they share a common thread. They highlight the challenges Nigeria faces as a nation. From political instability to social issues, there's no shortage of problems to address. In the case of Simon Ekpa, the issue is one of governance and justice. How does a country balance the right to self-determination with the need to maintain national unity? How does it address the grievances of marginalized regions without resorting to violence or repression? As for the hospital incident, it raises questions about education, awareness, and accountability. How do we ensure that people understand the limits of their actions, even when driven by faith? How do we protect vulnerable individuals in healthcare settings? The road ahead won't be easy, but there are steps that can be taken. For starters, there needs to be more transparency in the case of Simon Ekpa. If the Nigerian government has evidence against him, it should present it openly. At the same time, the ICC must ensure a fair and impartial process. Justice cannot be one-sided. In southeastern Nigeria, efforts must be made to address the root causes of discontent. This includes tackling poverty, creating jobs, and ensuring that people feel heard and valued. Violence is not the answer, and neither is neglect. On the social front, there's a need for greater awareness and education. People need to understand that while faith is important, it should not come at the expense of common sense or science. Hospitals and other institutions must also put measures in place to prevent such tragedies from happening again. Nigeria is at a crossroads. The stories of Simon Ekpa and the hospital tragedy are just two examples of the challenges the country faces. But they also serve as reminders of what's at stake. Behind every headline, there are real people, families grieving their loved ones, communities struggling to rebuild, and a nation yearning for peace and progress. As we watch these events unfold, let's remember that change starts with each of us. Whether it's holding leaders accountable, educating ourselves and others, or simply treating one another with kindness and respect, every action counts. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. These stories aren't just isolated incidents. They're part of a larger narrative about the challenges Nigeria faces as it strives to balance its rich cultural diversity, political complexity, and economic potential. Let's dig deeper into what this means for the country and its people. Simon Ekpa's story is emblematic of a much larger struggle. The Biafra movement he represents isn't new. It's a legacy of the Nigerian Civil War, often referred to as the Biafran War, that ended over 5 decades ago. While the war officially ended in 1970, the wounds it left behind have yet to heal completely. For many in southeastern Nigeria, the dream of Biafra is a symbol of hope, resistance, and self-determination. However, for the Nigerian government, it represents a threat to the unity of the country. The conflict between these two perspectives has created a tense and often violent situation. The International Criminal Court stepping in adds another layer of complexity. The ICC's involvement signals that the issue has caught global attention, but it also raises questions. Can international justice truly address the grievances of the Biafran people, or will it further complicate an already delicate situation? This brings us to Nigeria's leadership. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his administration are under immense pressure. The ICC's warning is not just a legal issue, it's a test of the government's credibility and its ability to manage crises. In situations like this, strong and transparent leadership is crucial. The Nigerian government needs to show that it's committed to justice, not just for Simon Ekpa, but for all citizens. That means addressing the root causes of unrest in southeastern Nigeria and ensuring that every Nigerian, regardless of their background, feels like a valued member of the nation. On the other side of the spectrum, the hospital incident involving the removal of the oxygen mask sheds light on another critical issue: the intersection of faith and reason.
Good evening, my wonderful brothers and sisters. I heard the news that Sahara Reporter is reporting that Simon Ekpa has been taken to one of the most secured prisons in Finland, which is a bloody lie. I came here to debunk that lie again, that Nigerians know what they're doing. They're avoiding to come to the ICC. What they are doing is to disorganize our mind. In their mind, they know we are now strongly united. They thought by doing all these, they are playing all these their games, we will be divided. Don't be divided, be strong. And our men on ground, what they are trying to do is for you people to give up. Don't give up. Fight them ruthlessly. Anywhere you see them in our land, anywhere, fight them ruthlessly. They are evil. Look at what they are saying today, that the Finnish authority has seized Simon Ekpa's assets. What asset does Simon Ekpa has? Where? They don't know what is coming. If they do, they will stop this, their propaganda. Be strong. Know that we are fighting these people that are very confused. They are sued in ICC. Let them come to ICC to defend themselves. Thank you.
Happening right now at the regional hospital Bamenda. A young man just walked into the female ward, remove oxygen from a patient, and then start praying that the oxygen is free. Can you imagine, bro? Are you a pastor? Are you a pastor? So why you move oxygen for patient? Yeah, talk a minute, yeah. Talk no, a minute, yeah.
Alright. The Bible says we are poor because I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Catholic, I'm not a Presbyterian.
You're what?
I'm a Christian.
Are you a pastor?
No.
So why you move oxygen for patient is key? Yes.
I move patient because I trust Jesus.
You trust Jesus?
Yes.
It's okay.
Somebody say that he knows him.
Who?
That guy. You know me. That used to be a he didn't know me.
Okay, he's mad. Wait, what I know? Wait. The patient is dying. The patient is dying. Move oxygen for patient.
The patient cannot die.
Who told you?
I know.
Is he a patient?
I beg, I want to say
Christian.
They're a patient. The patient is not your patient. You just walk in the ward and remove oxygen from the patient's face. Lord of Jesus. And anything more for you.
That person, this will run social.
Bro, that patient, is he your patient? So why remove the oxygen?
Go to class,
Because you're a Christian. Who sent you?
Our the father who sent you to come here.
The father.
Yes.
I said another man that's what he no.
Uncle, it's not the attempt to behave like that. Okay, now God said me. I give it back.
Lord of Jesus.
Greater work shall you do.
It's not normal.
I said. Patient they die already. They're not going to try for the same patient back. For days or so.
Gino, don't say like that. They don't just move
All time.
It's not normal.
I've not seen anything before in my life. This man don't walk into the world and remove oxygen from a patient. I said that God sent him.
Wonderful.
The patient is not even his patient.
He's dead.
He's dying. Happening live at Baminda Regional Hospital. Can you imagine? Yes, no, I'm not going in. I'm not going in.
So dying and Mrs. I'll kill you. Before that woman, they don't rest out cold. If he dying and me, I'll kill you.
She can never be done.
How do you imagine never die, bro?
She can never. I could not pray with her with the oxygen. What did you do with the oxygen?
I need two chingom, say the man of God.
She's already cold. Like, why?
Oh, what chingom for?
I'm not a man of God, sir.
Why?
You are what?
Why are you?
I'm a Christian.
What oxygen? Get the right to remove the oxygen. Is oxygen not made also by God?
This can they be order?
Can it be order?
Yes, I want to
One person put their hand, they don't like they are fighting on hard.